So you decided you want to LS swap your vehicle. Here's some things you may not have thought about. First off, you're going to need to think about whether you want to run the stock cam or not. Because obviously you're going to put the cam in before you put it in your vehicle, right? If you're going to run an aftermarket cam, then you need a few things. If you got a VVT motor like this one, has variable valve timing originally, you have to get a VVT delete kit. If you are running an engine with DOD, I believe GM calls it, displacement on demand, or AFM, I don't remember what it's called, you're going to have to replace the lifters. You are going to want to put in different springs on the valve springs. On this one, I'm just running a low buck truck cam. It's nothing crazy. You're also going to have to up your injectors. When you put a bigger cam in an LS and you're running fuel injection, you have to have bigger injectors normally. And when you up the injector, you're going to have to supply the fuel. You're going to have a little bigger fuel pump, possibly. If you're going to run a turbo like this one, you have to have a pretty big fuel pump. If you're running E85, you have to have a lot of fuel pump. E85 takes a lot more fuel and a lot more injector to run. You're also going to want to put a new oil pan on because the truck pans are so deep. Unless you're confident that it's not a problem for it to be hanging below your cross member. On this truck, it's airbagged, so I can't have anything hanging below. Most vehicles, you're going to have to do that. If you're turboing, you're going to have some kind of return system that is boost referenced, ideally. I'm running the boost referenced return style fuel pressure regulator. And what this does is, let's say we're running 50 pounds of fuel pressure and we run 10 pounds of boost. This will send 10 pounds to here and it will up the fuel pressure by 10 pounds. So we'll be running 60 pounds of pressure to the injectors. This offsets any need for mapping in your ECU. Speaking of ECU, you're going to have to run either an HP tuners or a Holley Terminator or something like that. I prefer Holley Terminator. HP tuners, you're still going to probably have to pay for someone to tune it unless you're really confident or want to learn it. If you want to learn it and you're not worried about blowing things up, you can get an HP tuners. But here's the thing, when you run HP tuners, you need a wideband O2 sensor. And you also need a way to output that to your HP tuners. So you're still going to need to buy a $200 AEM gauge or something like that that can output a wideband O2 sensor to HP tuners, so you know what kind of O2, so you know what your AFR is. And that's things that people don't talk about. You're also going to need probably some kind of boost gauge with HP tuners. You can use the map sensor, but again, you want some kind of visible boost gauge, you're going to have to buy that. With Holley, it can be on this little screen. I originally was going to go with the HP tuners, but my wiring was a joke that I got from the junkyard, so I said, forget that. I am going with the Holley. I'm glad I did. Now, transmissions, yes, an old school Turbo 400 or Turbo 350 will bolt up to it. You need to get an adapter kit, or you can buy torque converters that are already set up to go from a Turbo 400, let's say, to an LS. And that's what I went with. Okay, you just got to search this stuff out. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of things that you have to figure out to make it work. Everyone wants to act like it's cheap too. It is not cheap. It is not cheap to LS swap unless you're running a completely stock setup. If you're running a completely stock setup, you can probably hijack most of the stuff off of their newer vehicle and stick it in. You're still going to have to get a little bit of tuning done because you have to delete the security features and stuff. Otherwise, you'll find that the engine only runs for a few seconds and then shuts off. So that has to be fixed. So you're still going to have to buy HP tuners. Now, as far as sizing goes for injectors and stuff, there's calculators online for the pumps and fuel pumps and turbos and all that stuff. Or you can go through a company like Richard Holdner's Performance. He kind of gives you a roundabout what things can handle. So like this turbo is rated for 1200. The injectors, I can get about I think it was 950. I can't remember on E85. I'm running 91 pump, but so I won't be running that much. What else? Oh, the fuel pump, it can run around that too. So everything has to be sized accordingly. Yes, it can kind of be a pain to figure out, but if you enjoy that stuff, it's great. Now, the nice thing about like a Holley Terminator is there's outputs for your engine fan and your fuel pump and things like that. It can also knock out timing if you overboost or something like that to help save the engine possibly. If you have a problem, you can also hook up a fuel pressure. You can also hook up a fuel pressure sensor. If you lose fuel pressure, it can cut the ignition. So there's a lot more safety features built into the Holley than, say, a stock ECU. Now, I've been lucky. The power steering pumps have all kind of worked with what I had. I LS swapped a Studebaker that has a Nova front clip in it, and it worked with the, I think it was a Saginaw style gearbox. This one I'm running a Mustang 2 style setup, and I think it'll work. I got all the adapters and stuff through Speedway. Another important distinction is, are you running drive-by-wire or drive-by-cable? Drive-by-wire requires a certain pedal, and there's only so many that are supported by Holley. So I ended up with the Holley pedal, which costs even more money. You know, all this adds up. If you want to put a drive-by-cable on here, and let's say an aftermarket intake, they do not come with the throttle body. They don't come with the injectors. All this stuff just adds up. It's very, very expensive. It's like they figured out exactly the combination that people want to run on their LSs, and they jacked the freaking price of those items through the roof. So that's why I'm running the stock intake. You don't gain a lot besides looks by switching to an aftermarket intake a lot of times. Another thing is you're gonna have to add a manifold temperature sensor, okay? Especially if it was a mass airflow sensor and you're removing that, you're going to, I believe what's called speed density, and you're running off of map. I know these are big words, it's not a big deal. Just, if you know about AFRs and you know like, hey, 30 degrees of timing on a turbo engine is bad, then you're gonna be doing okay. You need to keep your timing very low and your fuel ratio to air high. You want more fuel to keep the cylinder cool. Remind me of all this when I grenade this engine, okay? Another thing, if you're turboing one of these, is you want to set a bigger ring gap. And I went with 29 thou. You do your own research, figure out what you want to do. That's what I figured out was safe based on what I've researched. All this is just research. You got to research your own things and figure it out for yourself, and until you feel comfortable with it all. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see this thing get built. This is what we got.